Hello everybody, welcome you all. In today's class, I will be discussing Max Weber's contribution to sociology. Max Weber was a German thinker. Weber was really a versatile genius because he was a sociologist, political scientist, economist, as well as administrative thinker at the same time. His lifespan was 1864 to 1920. Actually, Max Weber's position in literature of sociology as well as in the method of sociology is quite unique, distinct and separate from rest of the thinkers like Durkheim and Karl Marx that I have already taught you. You see, before teaching you formally the contribution of Max Weber for sociology, it's right on my part, it is proper on my part to tell you the basic philosophy of Max Weber, because for the purpose of understanding Weber's contribution to sociology, it's necessary on your part to understand his basic philosophy. So what are the philosophies developed by Max Weber? I am telling you the fact that his first important philosophy is neutral approach. Neutral approach. What do you mean by neutral approach? You see, I have already told you the fact that in sociological literature there are two diametrically opposite perspectives. What are they? First is functional perspective or functionalism. Second is conflict perspective or conflict theory. Proponent of functional perspective is Professor Emile Durkheim. Proponent of conflict perspective is Karl Marx. As I have already told you, functional perspective highlights the positive contributions of different elements of society. On the contrary, conflict perspective highlights the negative contributions of different elements of society. For example, if you ask a question to Professor Emile Durkheim, what is the role of religion? Durkheim would tell you the fact that religion is helping the people to come out of crisis-ridden situation. So religion has a positive contribution. This is functional perspective on religion. That is Durkheim's view. On the contrary, if you ask Karl Marx what is the contribution of religion, because his approach is conflict, he would say religion is a mechanism of exploitation. How? Karl Marx would tell that by using the name of religion, a man is exploiting woman, a Brahmin is exploiting Dalit, a white is exploiting black, an industrialist is exploiting an industrial worker. So religion has a negative contribution. This is conflict perspective. But if you ask Max Weber, what is the contribution of religion? Max Weber's stand is unique. Max Weber will make a realistic assessment of religion. Weber will tell you the fact that religion has both positive as well as negative contribution. So in this way, his approach is neutral approach. Neutral approach means Max Weber will always try to make a balance between positive aspect as well as negative aspects of different elements of society. Got it? Then come to second philosophy of Max Weber. The second philosophy of Max Weber is causal pluralism. What is the meaning of causal pluralism? You see, causal means root word is cause. What is pluralism? Make a derivation. Plurality plus ism, that is called pluralism. Plurality means manyness, ism means philosophy or approach. So the approach of more than one cause is called causal pluralism. What is that? I am telling you. Causal pluralism is contrasted with determinism, deterministic approach. You see, Durkheim's approach is deterministic approach. Karl Marx's approach is deterministic approach. Durkheim's approach is called social determinism. Durkheim says, whatever things people are doing, they are doing because of the impact of society. For example, why somebody is speaking Telugu? Because he has been born in Telugu society. So Telugu society is determining his behavior. Why somebody is paying respect to tricolor flag of India? Because he has been born and brought up in Indian society. So in this way, your behavior is influenced by society. Society is there at the background of your each and every type of behavior. This approach is called social determinism or deterministic approach. Everything will be explained in terms of single cause. This is called deterministic approach. Even Karl Marx's approach is also deterministic approach. Are you getting my point or not? How Karl Marx's approach is deterministic approach? Because Karl Marx tries to explain everything in terms of economy. His approach is economic determinism. Karl Marx says anything in society can be explained in terms of money. For example, I am telling you, who will become successful in competitive examination? If you ask the question to Karl Marx should say, candidate who is having good monetary power. He would join in different coaching center and he will get better knowledge because he would be taught by good teachers and he would become successful in examination. Who would become successful in politics? Karl Marx should say the candidate who is contesting election either for MLA or for MP. If he is having good monetary power, he can make a proper advertisement related to his election campaign, and even during the time of election, the way things are happening in India, he would distribute money among the people and he would purchase the votes. So a person having good monetary power is having higher possibility of winning the election. So whether, you see, Marx's approach is economic determinism, because Karl Marx says whether you would become successful in politics, whether you would become successful in competitive examination or not, everything is decided by your monetary power. So Marx's approach is called economic deterministic approach or determinism. So determinism is an approach by which everything is explained in terms of single cause. Both Durkheim and Karl Marx have adopted deterministic approach. On the contrary, Weber's approach is causal pluralism. What is that? Max Weber says any event in society can be explained in terms of more than one factors or more than one causes. I am repeating it again. Any event of society can be explained in terms of more than one factors or more than one causes. How? I am citing an example. Who will become successful in IAS examination? If you ask the question to Max Weber, he would say a candidate who is having good monetary power, a candidate who is having stability of mind, a candidate who is having good patience and perseverance, a candidate who is having good exposure to different material. Okay, that candidate will become successful in IAS examination. So for success in IAS examination, more than one causes are involved or factors are involved. So in this way, Weber's approach is called causal pluralism. It means for happening of a single event, more than one causes are associated with. Okay, then come to next approach of Max Weber is subjective approach. Subjective approach. What is that subjective approach? You see, opposite of subjective is objective approach. What is objective approach? Objective means invariable approach. Invariable approach, that is Durkheim's approach. What is invariable? If you ask single question to n number of persons, answer would be same. That is objective approach. For example, if you ask the people, those who are having fundamental ideas and knowledge about physics, how many molecules are there in 1 mole of substance, they will say you it is 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 number of molecules. You ask this question to an Indian, to an American, to a Britishers, or you ask this question to a Telugu, to a Tamil, to a Bengali, to a Punjabi, to a Haryanvi person, irrespective of their background in matter of language, in matter of nationality, all of them will give you the same answer, because question is one, answer must be one. This is called objective approach. Objective approach is based on the principle of invariability. Invariability, it is constant, it does not vary. Question is one, answer must be one. This is objective approach, that is Durkheim's approach. On the contrary, Weber's approach is subjective approach. Subjective approach means here mind plays an important role. If single question is asked to n number of persons, their answer would be more than one. Answer will not be same but more than one. This is called subjective approach. For example, if I ask you why the rate of divorce in modern world and modern India is growing, one student would say, sir, in traditional Indian society, impact of religion was stronger. So in traditional ridden days, people in India, they were thinking that marriages are made in heaven. Marriages were taking place due to the will of the God. So while they were getting married, whenever they were fighting, still then they were also thinking that they were fighting because of the will of the God. Because God wanted, so they entered into wedlock, marital relationship. But today, impact of religion is reducing. People are thinking very liberally that but marriage is a process of adjustment. So if they are thinking logically, if we partners are staying together but fighting always, n number of times a day and staying under the same roof, it's better to be divorced from each other than fighting with each other n number of times a day, because that is harmful for personality. So because the impact of religion started declining, that contributed towards increasing rate of divorce. Suppose one of you said like this, you are correct. Another student would say, no sir, I think in traditional Indian society, women were not having independent source of income. But in today's India, women are having independent source of income. Their financial dependence upon the male member is decreasing. So while women's financial dependence on male member of the society is decreasing, whenever the women of a family, they feel that they are maltreated by their in-laws, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, they are not ready to make any compromise. Earlier, because they were not having financial independence, they were making compromise. Though they felt that injustice was done to them, still then they did not think to part company from their marital partner, that is husband. But today, economic independence of women has increased. Eventually, it has contributed to marital maladjustment, fighting between husband and wife, and finally it is getting terminated or culminated in divorce. Second student said like this, he is also correct. So you see, third student may give also another answer. So I am telling you, question is one. One question is asked to two persons are giving two answers. All of them are applying their mind and giving an answer to me. This is subjective approach. So subjective approach is based on the principle of variability, and in subjective approach, mind plays an important role for giving answer. So this is subjective approach of Max Weber. And the last approach of Max Weber is Vosgean approach or Vosgean method. I will be telling you the fact that Vosgean method has also a connection with subjective approach. Vosgean method has a connection also with subjective approach. What is that Vosgean method? You see, Vosgean as a concept was not coined by Max Weber. Rather, the historians of Germany, they were using the concept Vosgean for the purpose of understanding the history books. Vosgean method was used by historians of Germany just to establish a connection between text and context, because there is a saying that every text has a meaning in a particular context. While text changes, while context changes, text is automatically changed. So this approach was used by historians of Germany. But Max Weber borrowed the concept Vosgean from historians of Germany and applied it for the purpose of understanding social life. So what is that Vosgean? Literally, Vosgean means sympathetic introspection or empathy. Sympathetic introspection or empathy. What is that sympathetic introspection or empathy? I am telling you. Empathy is a quality of human being by which the human being is expected to put himself imaginatively in the condition of other people before giving any remark about them. Empathy, I am repeating, mounts a pressure upon us to put ourselves imaginatively in the condition of other before giving any remark. For example, you see, sometimes we say criminals are unwanted element, prostitutes are harmful people, like that we say. But empathy says no, don't give this type of view about other. Just put yourself imaginatively in the condition of other people before giving any remark about them. For example, ask yourself a question that had I been born in the family in which a criminal was born, what would have happened to me? Had I been born in a prostitute family, what would have happened to me? Instead of coming to the class of sociology and preparing for civil service examination, I could have been engaged in crime had I been born in a criminal's family. So this is empathy. So empathy mounts a pressure upon us to put ourselves imaginatively in the condition of other before giving any remark about other. And Vosgean method has also some other points to discuss, but today I cannot discuss all these things in detail. So let me wind up my class for today. Rest of the things related to contribution of Max Weber will be discussed in next class. So I extend my thankfulness to you all for watching this program. Thank you a lot.